The girl came into town like a ghost. She walked beside a wagon, not riding in it. Her dress was pale blue, too clean for travel, and her hands were folded at her waist like she'd been taught to hold them that way. The man driving the wagon was older, maybe 50, maybe more, with a silver beard trimmed close and a black hat that sat too perfectly on his head. He didn't look at her as they rolled down the main street of Dust Creek. He looked ahead, chin lifted, like a man who owned what he saw. Sheriff Cole Garrison watched them from the porch of his office, boot heels propped on the rail, hat tipped low against the morning sun. He'd been sheriff here for 11 years, long enough to know when something felt wrong. And this felt wrong. The wagon stopped outside the general store. The man climbed down first, dusted his coat, then turned and offered his hand to the girl. She didn't take it right away. She looked at it like it was a snake. Then she took it, stepped down, and let go as soon as her feet touched the dirt. Cole straightened in his chair. The man said something to her, too quiet to hear from across the street, and she nodded. He walked into the store. She stood outside, hands folded again, staring at nothing. Cole rose and crossed the street, spurs clinking soft on the wood, then muffled in the dust. He stopped a few feet from her, thumbs hooked in his belt. "Morning," he said. She flinched just a little. Then she looked up at him. Her eyes were dark, too dark for how young her face was. Couldn't have been more than 14, maybe 15 at most. Her hair was braided tight, pinned up under a small bonnet. She had the look of someone who'd been scrubbed clean and told to stay that way. "Morning, sir," she said. Her voice was small. "You all right?" "Yes, sir." "That your father?" She hesitated, just a heartbeat. "No, sir." "Who is he?" Another pause, longer this time. "My husband." Cole felt something cold settle in his chest. He didn't let it show on his face. He'd been a lawman long enough to keep his face still when he needed to. "Your husband," he repeated. "Yes, sir." "How old are you?" 14, sir." The cold spread. He glanced toward the store, then back at her. "What's your name?" "Annabel." "Annabel what?" "Annabel Croft now, sir. Used to be Annabel Holt." "Where you from?" "Missouri. We're traveling west. He says we'll settle in California." "And your folks, they know you're married." Her jaw tightened, just for a second. Then it softened again, like she'd learned to swallow whatever came up. "My father arranged it, sir. My mother passed 2 years ago. My father said Mr. Croft would provide for me. He paid him $300. Cole's hand flexed at his side. He didn't move otherwise. "Paid him," he said quietly. "Yes, sir." "For you?" "Yes, sir." The door to the store opened. The man Croft stepped out with a small bag of supplies. He looked at Cole, then at Annabel, then back at Cole. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes, something that knew it was being watched. "Sheriff," Croft said, tipping his hat. "Mr. Croft, something I can help you with." Cole's gaze didn't move from Annabel's face, just making acquaintance. "Appreciated," Croft said. He set the bag in the wagon, then gestured to Annabel. "Come along, dear." She moved toward the wagon. Cole stepped forward, just one step, and she stopped. "Annabel," he said. She looked back at him. "You need anything, anything at all, you come find me, you understand." She nodded, but her eyes said something else. They said it won't matter. Croft helped her into the wagon. He climbed up beside her, took the reins, and clicked his tongue. The horses pulled forward. Cole watched them roll down the street toward the edge of town, toward the small boarding house at the far end where travelers sometimes stayed. He stood there until they were out of sight. Then he walked back to his office, sat down at his desk, and stared at the wall. $300. He'd seen a lot in 11 years. He'd seen men killed over cards, over women, over nothing. He'd seen boys hung for stealing horses and men walk free after killing their wives. He'd seen the law bent and broken and burned. But this was something else. This was legal. A girl 14 years old, sold like livestock. He leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. The sun was warm through the window. The town was quiet. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. Life went on. But in his mind, he saw her face, heard her voice. My father arranged it. He opened his eyes. Then he stood, strapped his gun belt tighter, and walked out the door. The boarding house sat at the end of a narrow lane, shaded by two cottonwoods that had been there longer than the town. It was run by a widow named Mrs. Calloway, a sharp-eyed woman who didn't ask questions but noticed everything. Cole found her sweeping the porch. Afternoon, me, he said. She looked up, leaned the broom agay. NSD the rail, sheriff. Got a man staying here, older fellow, silver beard, traveling with a young girl. Room 3, she said, paid for 2 nights. They here now. He went out an hour ago, girl still inside, I think, heard her moving around upstairs. Cole nodded, I'm going to talk to her. Me studied him for a moment, then she stepped aside, doors unlocked. He climbed the stairs, boots creaking on the old wood. The hallway was dim, lit only by a small window at the far end. He stopped outside room 3 and knocked. Silence. He knocked again. Annabelle, it's Sheriff Garrison. A long pause, then the door opened a crack. Her face appeared, pale in the shadows. Yes, sir. Can I come in? She hesitated, then she stepped back and opened the door wider. The room was small. A bed, a chair, a wash basin. Her traveling bag sat unopened on the floor. She stood near the window, hands folded again, like that was the only way she knew how to hold them. Cole closed the door but didn't step farther inside. He kept his distance, kept his voice low. I need to ask you something, he said, and I need you to tell me the truth. She didn't answer, just waited. Did you want this? He asked. This marriage, did you choose it? Her lips pressed together. She looked down at her hands. Annabelle. It doesn't matter what I wanted, she said quietly. It matters to me. She looked up then, and for the first time he saw something break in her eyes. Not tears, something harder, something older than 14. My father said I was a burden, she said. He said Mr. Croft was a good man, a godly man, and I should be grateful someone would take me. He said if I refused, he'd send me to work in the city, in a factory, or worse. So you didn't choose it. I chose not to starve, she said. I chose not to be thrown out. Is that the same thing? Cole's jaw tightened. No, it's not. Then what does it matter? Her voice cracked just a little. The law says I'm his. My father signed the paper. The preacher blessed it. What can you do? I don't know yet, Cole said, but I'm not letting you leave with him. Her eyes widened. You can't stop him, he'll. He'll what? She shook her head, stepped back toward the window. You don't understand. If you try to stop him, he'll say I ran away. He'll say I'm his property, the law's on his side. The law's a lot of things, Cole said, and sometimes it's wrong. And what happens to me then? She asked, voice rising now. If you stop him, where do I go? Back to my father? He won't take me. I have no money, no family, nothing. At least with Mr. Croft, I'll have a roof, food, I'll survive. That's not living, Annabelle. It's better than dying. Cole stood there, silent, the weight of her words pressing down on him like stones. She was right. He knew she was right. The law wouldn't help her. The church wouldn't help her. And if he intervened without a plan, he'd just be taking away the only thread she had to hold on to. But he also knew what would happen if she left. He'd seen it before. Girls like her, married off to men like Croft, used up, broken, sometimes buried in unmarked grave out west where no one asked questions. Give me time, he said finally. Time for what? To figure this out. She stared at him, and for a moment he thought she might cry, but she didn't. She just nodded once and turned back to the window. Cole opened the door and stepped into the hall. Mrs. Calloway was waiting at the bottom of the stairs. Well, she asked. Keep an eye on her, Cole said. Don't let him take her anywhere alone. And if he tries, stall him, I'll be back. He walked out into the heat of the afternoon, mind racing. He needed leverage. He needed something, anything, that would give him legal ground to stand on. He headed toward the church. Reverend Talbot was in the garden behind the chapel, pruning rose bushes. He looked up as Cole approached, wiping his hands on his trousers. "Sheriff," he said, "what brings you here?" "Got a question about marriage law." Talbot raised an eyebrow. "All right. If a girl's 14 and her father arranges a marriage, is it binding?" "Depends on the territory. In most places, yes. If the father consents and the ceremony's performed, it's legal. Even if the girl didn't consent." Talbot paused, shears in hand. "Legally, yes. Morally," he shook his head. "That's between her and God." Cole's hands clenched at his sides. "And if I wanted to stop it?" "On what grounds?" "On the grounds that it's wrong." Talbot set the shears down. "Cole, I understand how you feel, but the law doesn't care about wrong. It cares about contracts. If that man has a signed document and a witness, you don't have a case. Then the law needs to change." "Maybe it does," Talbot said quietly, "but not today, not in time to help that girl." Cole turned and walked away without another word. The sun was starting to dip toward the horizon. Long shadows stretched across the street. And somewhere in that boarding house, a 14-year-old girl sat by a window, waiting for a future she didn't choose. But Cole Garrison wasn't done yet. Cole sat in his office as the light faded, the oil lamp on his desk casting long shadows across the walls. His hand rested on a stack of old territorial law books he'd pulled from the shelf, pages marked and dog-eared, but none of them gave him what he needed. The law was clear, too clear. A father could marry off his daughter at any age if he consented. A husband had rights over his wife, and a sheriff had no authority to interfere in a legal union. But Cole had never been good at accepting things just because they were written down. The door opened. Mee Calloway stepped inside, breathless, her shawl pulled tight around her shoulders. "He's back," she said. Cole stood, "Croft." "Yes, and he's packing the wagon. Says they're leaving at first light." "Where's Annabelle?" "Still in her room, locked the door. He tried to get her to come down for supper, but she wouldn't open it." Cole grabbed his hat. "I'm going over there." Mee caught his arm. "Cole, what are you planning to do?" He looked at her. "I don't know yet." "You can't just shoot the man." "I know. Do you?" He pulled his arm free, gently, and walked past her into the street. The boarding house was lit from within, warm light spilling from the windows. Cole climbed the steps and knocked on the front door. Mee had followed him, and she opened it without a word. Inside, Croft sat at the dining table, a plate of food in front of him. He looked up as Cole entered, fork paused halfway to his mouth. "Sheriff," he said calmly, "twice in one day, I'm flattered. We need to talk." Croft set his fork down, leaned back in his chair. "About what?" "About Annabelle. My wife. Your child bride." Croft's expression didn't change. "I don't appreciate your tone, Sheriff. I've done nothing illegal. I have the certificate. I have her father's signature. Everything was done proper." "Proper," Cole repeated. "You paid $300 for a 14-year-old girl." "I paid her father a dowry, as is customary. I offered her a future, stability, a home, more than she had." "And what does she get in return?" Croft smiled just a little. "A husband, a provider, the security of marriage. What more does a woman need?" Cole's hand drifted toward his gun, just an inch. He stopped himself. "You're not taking her." Croft's smile faded. "I'm sorry." "You heard me." Croft stood slowly, pushing his chair back. He wasn't a big man, but he carried himself like someone used to being obeyed. "Sheriff, I don't know what you think you're doing, but I suggest you reconsider. I am a lawful citizen. I have broken no laws, and if you interfere with my legal marriage, I will have you removed from your position." "Try it." Croft's eyes narrowed. "You're making a mistake." Wouldn't be the first time. For a long moment, neither man moved. The air in the room felt tight, like a drawn bowstring. Then footsteps sounded on the stairs. Annabel appeared in the doorway, still in her pale blue dress, her face white as chalk. She looked at Cole, then at Croft, then back at Cole. "Please," she whispered, "don't." "Annabel," Cole said quietly, "you don't have to go with him." "Yes, I do." "No, you don't." Croft stepped forward, hand extended toward her. "Come here, dear." She didn't move. "Annabel," Croft said, voice harder now, "come here." "She's not going anywhere," Cole said. Croft turned on him, jaw tight. "You have no authority here, Sheriff, none, and if you lay a hand on me, I'll see you hanged for it." "Then hang me." Croft's face twisted. He reached into his coat. Cole's gun was out before Croft's hand cleared the fabric, the room filled with the metallic click of a hammer being pulled back. "Don't," Cole said. Croft froze, hand still inside his coat. "Take your hand out," Cole said, slow. Croft's jaw worked, then slowly he pulled his hand free, empty. He held it up, fingers spread. "I was reaching for my papers," he said coldly, "my marriage certificate, to prove to you that you're in the wrong." "You're leaving town," Cole said, "tonight without her." "I will do no such thing." "You will, or I'll arrest you." "On what charge?" Cole hesitated, just for a second, and Croft saw it. "You have nothing," Croft said. "No charge, no law, you're bluffing, Sheriff." "Maybe," Cole said, "but you'll still live." "And if I don't?" Cole's finger rested on the trigger. He didn't pull it, not yet, but the weight of the possibility hung in the air like smoke. "Then we'll see what happens," Cole said quietly. Annabel made a small sound, half gasp, half sob. She stepped forward, hands outstretched. "Please, stop, both of you. I'll go with him, just stop." "No," Cole said, not taking his eyes off Croft. "I have to." "You don't." "Then what?" she cried. "What happens to me, Sheriff? Where do I go? Who takes me in? You? Will you feed me? Cloths? Me keep me safe?" Her voice broke. "I have nothing, he's all I have." Cole's chest ached. The gun felt heavy in his hand. "You'll have more than this." "Will I?" She laughed, bitter and sharp. "Or will I just be alone?" Croft's eyes glinted. "You see, Sheriff, she knows. She understands her place. Now lower your weapon and let us leave in peace." Cole looked at Annabel, saw the fear in her eyes, saw the resignation, saw the awful, crushing weight of a life with no choices. And he made his choice. "No," he said. He raised the gun and pointed it directly at Croft's chest. "Leave," Cole said, "now, or I'll kill you where you stand." The silence that followed was absolute. Croft stared at the gun, then at Cole's face. Whatever he saw there made him go still. "You're insane," Croft said, but his voice shook now. "Maybe. I'll have you hanged, yes, you said that already." Croft's gaze flicked to Annabel, then back to Cole. "This isn't over." "It is for tonight." Slowly Croft backed toward the door. He didn't turn his back on Cole. He kept his hands visible, his movements careful. When he reached the doorway, he paused. "I'll go to the territorial judge," he said. "I'll have every lawman in the territory hunting you down." "You do that," Cole said. Croft left. The door closed behind him. Through the window, Cole watched him cross the street toward the livery, shoulders rigid, hands clenched. Then Cole lowered the gun. His hand was shaking. He looked at Annabel. She was still standing in the middle of the room, staring at him like he'd just pulled the sun out of the sky. "What did you do?" she whispered. "I don't know," Cole said honestly. Me stepped forward from where she'd been standing in the kitchen doorway, face pale. "Cole, you just threatened to kill a man in front of witnesses." "I know." "He's going to the judge. He's going to the governor. He'll have the law on you by morning." "I know." Me looked at Annabel, then back at Cole. "What now?" Cole holstered his gun. He looked at Annabel, really looked at her. saw the child she still was, saw the fear and the exhaustion and the awful, fragile hope beginning to flicker in her eyes. Now, he said, we figure out what comes next. They sat in Me's kitchen, Annabel at the table, hands wrapped around a cup of tea she hadn't touched, Me by the stove, arms folded, Cole by the door, hat in his hands. I can't stay here, Annabel said quietly. Why not? Me asked. Because he'll come back, with men, with the law, and you'll all be punished for helping me. Let me worry about that, Cole said. Why? Annabel looked at him, eyes red-rimmed. Why are you doing this? You don't know me, I'm nobody. You're somebody, Cole said, and what's happening to you is wrong. The law says it's right. Then the law's wrong. She shook her head, tears finally spilling over. I don't understand, nobody's ever, she couldn't finish. Me moved to the table, sat down beside her and took her hand. You're safe here, child, tonight at least you're safe. Annabel broke then, shoulders shaking, face buried in her hands. Me held her, rocked her gently, and Cole looked away, jaw tight. After a while, the crying stopped. Annabel wiped her face with the back of her hand, sniffed, and looked at Cole. What happens tomorrow? She asked. I don't know yet. He'll bring the law. Probably. And they'll arrest you. Maybe. Why would you do that? Why would you risk everything for me? Cole was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I had a daughter once. Both women looked at him. Her name was Emily, he said. She'd be about your age now. 15, maybe 16, I don't know. I haven't seen her since she was 3. What happened? Me asked softly. Her mother left me, took Emily west. I tried to find them, but, he shook his head. I don't know where they are, don't know if they're alive or dead, don't know if Emily even remembers me. He looked at Annabel. But every time I see a girl your age, I think about her. I think about what kind of man I'd want protecting her if she needed it. And I think about what kind of man I'd want to be if she ever came looking for me. His voice cracked just a little. So maybe I'm not doing this for you, he said. Maybe I'm doing it for her, or maybe I'm just doing it because it's the only thing I know how to do anymore. Annabel stared at him, fresh tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she whispered. Cole nodded, didn't trust himself to speak. Me stood, cleared her throat. All right, here's what we're going to do. Annabel, you'll sleep here tonight, upstairs in the back room. I'll lock the door from the outside so nobody can get in. Cole, you'll stay downstairs, keep watch. What about Croft? Annabel asked. If he comes back tonight, he'll have to go through me, Cole said. And tomorrow? Tomorrow, we'll figure it out. Later, after Annabel had gone upstairs, and Me had retired to her own room, E sat in the parlor with the lamp turned low. His gun lay on the table beside him. Outside, the wind had picked up, rattling the windows. He thought about Croft, thought about the law, thought about what he'd just done. He'd crossed a line tonight, maybe a line he couldn't come back from. But when he closed his eyes, he saw Annabel's face, saw the way she'd looked at him when he told Croft to leave. Saw hope. And he knew, whatever came next, he'd do it again. Dawn came cold and grey. Cole woke to the sound of hoofbeats, a lot of them. He rose from the chair, buckled his gun belt, and stepped onto the porch. The street was empty except for a group of riders approaching from the east, 6 men, maybe 7, led by a man in a black suit and a silver star on his vest. U.S. Marshal. Cole's stomach sank. The riders stopped in front of the boarding house. The marshal dismounted, adjusted his coat, and walked toward Cole. He was older, maybe 60, with a weathered face and cold eyes. Sheriff Garrison, he said. That's me. Marshal Hayden, I've got a complaint from a Mr. Jeremiah Croft. Says you threatened to kill him. Says you interfered with his legal marriage and held his wife against her will. That's not how it happened. Then how did it happen? Cole glanced toward the window, where he could see Me and Annabel watching from inside. He married a 14-year-old girl who didn't want to marry him. I stopped him from taking her. On what legal grounds? None. Hayden's jaw tightened. Then you broke the law, Sheriff. Maybe. There's no maybe about it. Hayden gestured to his men. Take him. Two deputies moved forward. Cole's hand drifted toward his gun. Don't, Hayden said. You shoot a federal officer and you'll hang before sundown. Cole's hand stopped. He looked at the deputies, then at Hayden, then back at the window. Annibal's face was pressed against the glass, eyes wide. And Cole made his decision. He drew. Faster than he'd moved in years. The first shot took one deputy in the shoulder. The second hit the dirt near another's feet. The third. Hayden's gun was out, aimed at Cole's chest. Drop it, Hayden shouted. Cole didn't drop it. He turned the barrel toward Hayden. She's a child, Cole said. She's 14 years old, and that man bought her like cattle. The law says. The law's wrong. Then you change the law, you don't break it. I tried, Cole said. Nobody listened. Hayden's finger tightened on the trigger. Last chance, Sheriff. Cole looked past him toward the boarding house. Annabel had opened the door. She was running toward them, shouting something he couldn't hear. He lowered his gun. All right, he said, I'm done. Hayden nodded to his men. They moved forward, took Cole's gun, pulled his arms behind his back. Annabel reached them, grabbed Hayden's arm. Please, she cried, please don't arrest him. He saved me. He's the only one who tried to help me. Hayden looked down at her. Are you Mrs. Croft? Yes, but I don't want to be. That's not how marriage works, girl. Then how does it work? She shouted, voice raw. I didn't choose him, I didn't want him. My father sold me, and the law says that's fine. The law says I'm property. Well, if that's the law, then the law's a lie. Hayden stared at her. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then a voice called from down the street. Marshal. Everyone turned. Croft was walking toward them, flanked by two men Cole didn't recognize. He looked calm, satisfied. Marshal Hayden, Croft said, thank you for coming so quickly. Mr. Croft, Hayden nodded. We've apprehended the sheriff. He'll stand trial for assault and unlawful detention. Good, Croft looked at Annabel. Come here, dear. Annabel didn't move. Annabel, Croft said, voice harder, come here. No. Croft's face darkened. He stepped toward her. Cole lunged forward, but the deputies held him back. Don't touch her, Cole growled. Croft ignored him. He reached for Annabel's arm. And me Calloway stepped between them, shotgun in her hands. Step back, she said. Croft froze. Me, Hayden said carefully, put the gun down. Not until he leaves. This is federal business. This is a child, me said, and I won't let him take her. Hayden's face hardened. Mrs. Calloway, if you don't lower that weapon, I'll have you arrested too. Then arrest me. The street went silent. The wind picked up, swirling dust between them. Somewhere, a door slammed shut. Hayden looked at me, at Annabel, at Cole, at Croft. Then he sighed. Mr. Croft, he said, may I see your marriage certificate? Croft pulled a folded paper from his coat and handed it over. Hayden unfolded it, read it slowly, then looked at Annabel. How old are you girls? 14, sir. And you didn't consent to this marriage? No, sir. Hayden folded the paper and handed it back to Croft. I can't help you. Croft's eyes widened. What? She's a child, and she's saying she didn't consent. That makes this a gray area, and I don't deal in gray areas. But the law says a father can arrange a marriage. It doesn't say a sheriff can't object, and it doesn't say I have to enforce something that smells this rotten. Hayden turned to his men. Let him go. The deputies released Cole. He stumbled forward, caught himself, and stood beside me. Croft's face went red. This is an outrage. I paid. You paid for a transaction, Hayden said. Not a person. Now get out of my sight before I find a reason to arrest you instead. Croft opened his mouth, closed it, then turned and walked away, the two men following him. Hayden looked at Cole. You're a damn fool, Sheriff. Yes, sir. But maybe the right kind of fool. He tipped his hat to me, ma'am. Then he mounted his horse and rode away, his men behind him. The street emptied. Cole stood there, breathing hard, and looked at Annabel. She was crying again, but this time she was smiling too. Thank you, she whispered. You're welcome, Cole said. 3 months later, Annabel Holt, no longer Croft, stood behind the counter of Me Calloway's boarding house, sweeping the floor and humming softly to herself. She wore a simple dress, her hair loose around her shoulders, and for the first time in a long time, she looked her age. Me came downstairs, carrying a basket of laundry. How are you, dear? Good, Annabel said, and she meant it. Cole stopped by that afternoon, hat in hand. Thought I'd check in. We are fine, Sheriff, Me said. Better than fine. He nodded, tipped his hat, and turned to leave. Sheriff, Annabel called. He looked back. I'm going to school, she said. Mrs. Calloway's arranged it. I start next week. Cole smiled. That's good, Annabel, real good. And someday, she said, I'm going to be a teacher, so other girls like me know they have a choice. Cole's throat tightened. He nodded once, turned, and walked out into the sunlight. Years later, when people asked him why he'd risked everything for a girl he barely knew, he'd say he didn't remember. But that was a lie. He remembered every moment. And on quiet nights, when the wind blew through Dust Creek and the stars came out, he'd sit on his porch and think about a 14-year-old girl who'd been given a second chance. And he'd think about his daughter, Emily, wherever she was. And he'd hope that if she ever needed someone, there'd be a person willing to stand between her and the darkness. Even if it cost them everything.